Welcome back, focus learners, to today's Explainer. Today, we're looking at the foundational architecture of business. We're going to decode those hidden frameworks behind the everyday brands you interact with all the time, basically pulling back the curtain on the corporate management structures that are operating invisibly right under our noses. So let's get right into it. Okay, let's dive into this roadmap. First up, we'll establish exactly what a holding company is. Second, we'll look at the pure holding company. Third, the mixed holding company. Fourth, the intermediate holding company. And finally, we'll wrap up by comparing these corporate structures side by side. Section 1. What is a holding company? Let's lay the foundation. So what exactly is a holding company? It's a term thrown around constantly in business news, on financial reports, everywhere really. But let's strip away all that noise and get right to the absolute core of this corporate umbrella structure. Here is our defining anchor. A holding company is a parent entity whose primary business is holding controlling interests in subsidiary operating companies. Let me highlight that specific role for a second, just to let it really sink in. It is first and foremost a parent entity. And its main job, its primary business, is to hold those controlling interests in other companies, which we call subsidiaries. To make this super clear, let's contrast the two main players in this dynamic. On one side, you have the parent entity, which is the holder. On the flip side, you have the subsidiary operating companies, the businesses being held. See, the parent isn't necessarily the one on the factory floor making the products or out there providing day-to-day services. Instead, they're the architectural entity holding the businesses that do exactly that. And the invisible thread that connects them? Controlling interests. Take a second and think about the weight of that phrase. Controlling interests. The parent entity holds enough of a stake to literally dictate the direction of these subsidiary operating companies. This primary business of holding those controlling interests, that is the definitive characteristic of the whole structure. Let's move to and see how this builds in Section 2, the pure holding company, our first variation. This is the most basic iteration, known as a pure holding company. It focuses strictly on that primary business of holding. It operates completely distinctly from the mixed or intermediate types we're going to cover in a minute. Its singular, unadulterated purpose is simply acting as the parent entity. Moving right along to Section 3, the mixed holding company. This is the second variation. Now, the mixed holding company adds an entirely new active layer to the traditional model. Like the pure model, it absolutely holds controlling interest in subsidiary companies. But, and here is the crucial addition, it also conducts its own active business. It's not just sitting back passively, it's actively participating in operations itself, playing a totally dual role in the corporate landscape. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is the stark contrast it draws between our first two concepts. You've got the pure holding company, an entity engaged in holding interests and nothing else. But then you have the mixed holding company, holding interests, sure, but also conducting its own active business operations right alongside its subsidiaries. It perfectly highlights the difference between a strictly holding parent and one that gets its hands dirty, directly operating a business. Which brings us to Section 4, the intermediate holding company, our third and final variation. Intermediate holding companies serve as our third distinct structure. Unlike the pure or mixed models, an intermediate holding company is actually a subsidiary itself. It kind of sits right in the middle. It's owned by a larger parent holding company above it, while simultaneously holding controlling interests in its own subsidiaries below it. It's an absolutely essential building block when you're dealing with massive corporate family trees. So the crucial point is coming up here in Section 5, comparing the corporate structures. This is our summary synthesis. And this brilliantly illustrates the otherwise complex relationship between parent entities and their subsidiaries. Let's pull this all together into a mental cheat sheet. In Column 1, the pure structure focuses strictly on holding interests. In Column 2, the mixed structure holds interests but also conducts its own active business. And in Column 3, the intermediate structure acts as a middle tier, holding its own subsidiaries while being owned by a larger parent entity above it. So, I leave you with this final provocative thought. The next time you interact with a major brand, pause for a second and ask yourself, what invisible corporate architecture is truly pulling the strings? Is it a pure holding company operating quietly in the background? A mixed operator? Or maybe an intermediate link in a massive global chain? Understanding these foundations completely changes how you view the business world around you. Keep your focus sharp, and I'll catch you in our next